Mid-journey to what promised to be a painfully ordinary family reunion, my husband's face drained of color. His voice, a ghost of its usual self, cut through the calm. Turn the car around. Now. I was stunned. My laugh, an awkward, automatic reflex, caught in my throat. Why? What are you talking about? His gaze, fixed on the road ahead, felt impossibly heavy. Please. Just turn around. That's when the knot tightened in my gut. My husband doesn't do panic. His emotional dial typically hovers between serene and mildly fatigued. I'd seen him navigate a kitchen fire with less tension in his shoulders. So I took the exit, the very last one before the border. It curved off gently, like the highway itself was exhaling a breath it had been holding. The moment we left the main road, his body relaxed, not entirely, but enough to make it starkly clear he'd been braced for an impact. Okay, I said, the word barely a whisper. Want to tell me what's going on now? He shook his head. Just drive. Drive where? I don't know. Anywhere but there. The kids, a restless trio aged 5, 7, and 10, were starting to stir in the back seat, half watching cartoons, half arguing over invisible lines drawn across the cushions. Tiny chaos in matching neck pillows. Are we going the wrong way? My middle child piped up. We forgot something, I lied automatically. What? The youngest chirped, ever hopeful. Is it snacks? I didn't answer. My husband said nothing for a long, quiet stretch. We drove in silence, 20 minutes, maybe more. Just miles of indifferent trees and a chilling dread pressing on the back of my neck. Then he spoke again. Take the next turn off. It led to nowhere, a forgotten sliver of asphalt, unmarked, with no discernible purpose. One of those places you only find when you're already lost, or about to be. I pulled over. He unbuckled, his movements deliberate. Stay here. He got out and walked to the back of the car. From my vantage point, I saw nothing, just the trunk and the oppressive quiet. I sat, hands clammy, my heartbeat doing something frantic and heavy, like it knew a secret I didn't. After a long minute, the trunk lid clicked shut. He came back to my window. Can you come out? Why? I need you to see it. He wasn't angry or scared, just tired and very, very sure. I got out. He led me to the back of the car, opened the trunk, and without a word, unzipped the red duffel bag. He folded back a sweatshirt, and that's when everything stopped. Inside, nestled amidst some ordinary clothes, stuffed into what looked like a child's toiletry bag and sealed in plastic, were packets. Not just one. Not hidden especially well, just there, under layers that wouldn't have fooled a border agent for 5 seconds. I stared, not fully understanding, then understanding everything all at once. Not medicine, not vitamins, not anything with a purpose that didn't scream handcuffs, lawyers, or devastating headlines. I couldn't speak. Every muscle in my chest seized. It felt like drowning in slow motion. He didn't say, look what they did. He didn't say, this is what I thought. He just zipped the bag closed again and let the silence finish the sentence. I took a shaky step back. The gravel crunched under my shoes, a detached sound, as if it belonged to another, saner world. They put that in our car, I finally managed, my voice thin and reedy. They put that in our car, he confirmed with a nod. With the kids, I added, the horror solidifying. Another nod. I looked up at the sky, for some inexplicable reason. It was still blue. It still looked like a perfectly good day. I hated that. It felt wrong, as if the sky hadn't gotten the memo. How did you know? I asked. He didn't answer right away, his gaze still fixed on the closed trunk, as if it might secretly unlatch again. When they gave us the bag, he said, eventually. Something in their eyes. The way they smiled, like it was already done. Like they were so sure it would work. He shrugged, then shook his head, as if trying to dislodge the memory. I couldn't stop thinking about it during the rest of the drive. Then, just before the border, it hit me. He looked at me, and I knew, I didn't know for sure, but I had known. And that was somehow worse. That someone else had seen what I had trained myself not to see. I turned, walking slowly back to the driver's seat. I got in, closed the door, and sat for a minute, letting the sun's warmth soak through the windshield while my hand trembled against the steering wheel. Then I started the car and drove. The kids didn't ask this time. They were deep in their cartoon world, having forgotten about Canada, Auntie Karen, the cousins, and the little toy bags I'd secretly packed for the reunion. We drove for a while. Highway, side roads, directionless. My phone started buzzing, first my mom, then my dad, then again and again. I didn't answer. Neither did he. We didn't need to. We already knew what they'd be saying. Where are you? What happened? Are you okay? Where's the bag? We just kept driving, the screen lighting up every few minutes like a distant siren. Eventually, we turned off toward their house. It was almost automatic, as if we were on rails. We didn't talk about it. We both just knew what had to happen. I pulled into their driveway and parked. The front porch light was still on from the night before, even though it was the middle of the afternoon. He got out first, walked around to the trunk. I followed. We didn't say anything. I reached for the mat, found the key still in the same place it had always been, taped to the back of a fake rock my dad bought from a catalog that also sold deer whistles and solar-powered frogs. He opened the front door. We walked inside. The air smelled of old coffee and carpet cleaner. We placed the red duffel bag just inside the hallway. Didn't open it. Didn't adjust it. Just set it down like a quiet bomb that didn't need to detonate to ruin everything. He turned the knob, locked it behind us. We got back in the car, still no words. I think we both felt like speaking would contaminate something. Later that day, after we got home and the kids were asleep and the house was still, I answered the phone. It was my mother. Her voice, sweet as saccharin, had the fake brightness of someone discussing a potluck. "Oh, honey, we were so worried. We didn't know what happened. You just disappeared." I said nothing. "Is everything okay?" Still nothing. "Where's the bag?" I let the question hang in the air for a second, then I said, "We dropped it off at your house." A pause. "If it was that important," I added, my voice steady, "maybe you should have taken it yourself." The mask didn't slip, but I heard the faint catch in her breath, that flicker of recognition that told me she knew exactly what I meant, and that I knew exactly what she'd done. She didn't say anything. Neither did I. And then I said, "We're not doing this anymore. Don't call again." I hung up. That was it. No screaming, no final speech, just a line drawn and a door shut, and that should have been the end. But it wasn't. Not yet. They showed up on a Wednesday. No warning, no text, just the doorbell ringing with a preemptive chime, as if delivering forgiveness and casseroles instead of guilt. I knew it was them before I even checked. There's a kind of pressure that comes through a front door, a subtle stench of unspoken accusation, especially when it's people who genuinely believe they've done nothing wrong. I opened the door just enough to step outside and shut it firmly behind me. My parents were standing there, looking utterly composed, as if they hadn't just tried to blow up my life with a tight smile and a duffel bag. My mom offered me that practiced, brittle smile that never quite reached her eyes. "We wanted to check in," she said, as if we were in a group chat and I'd just missed a brunch invite. My dad added, "We thought maybe we could clear the air." I said nothing, just crossed my arms and waited. My mom hesitated, then said, "We didn't know how much you understood." There it was, the tell. They knew. And I knew. They just didn't know how much I'd allowed myself to understand. I tilted my head. "You mean the bag?" Neither of them answered, which was answer enough. "You put it in our trunk," I stated, my voice flat, "with your grandchildren in the back seat." My mom swallowed. "We didn't think it would be a big deal." "It wasn't going to be anything," my dad chimed in, trying to keep his voice even. "Just something to help with the debt, that's all." "We were desperate," my mom added, quickly. "You wouldn't help." There it was again. The fallback excuse, the one-size-fits-all defense. You wouldn't help. As if their betrayal was a natural consequence of my boundaries, a direct response to my supposed lack of generosity. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. "You didn't just betray me," I said, the words cutting through the air like glass. "You risked our lives." Neither of them spoke. "You risked your daughter, your son-in-law, your grandchildren." My dad shifted his weight. My mom blinked, as if trying to summon tears that wouldn't come. "We're done," I said, the finality ringing in my ears. "Don't call. Don't come here. You don't get to see the kids. This is over. She opened her mouth. I could already hear it forming. The classic, you're being dramatic, or maybe you'll cool off. Instead, she just said, you'll come around. You always do. I turned, walked back inside, and locked the door behind me. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't wonder if she was right. 3 days later, I showed up at the school to pick up the kids. They weren't there. My stomach plummeted like a stone, leaving me speechless. I just stared at the teacher, as if she'd told me my house was on fire. Oh, they were already picked up, she said, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Your parents said you'd ask them to. I don't remember driving. I remember being in the car, and I remember the sound of the engine, but the journey itself is a blank. They were at my parents' house. Of course, they were. Inside, it looked like a birthday party had detonated. Toys, candy, balloons, a whole Lego set that cost more than my grocery budget for the week. The kids were glowing, sugar high, clutching new things, laughing like this was Disneyland. My parents were acting like this was all perfectly fine. My mom was slicing cake. My dad was on the floor, building something that beeped. It was surreal, like walking into a parallel universe where they were the kind of grandparents who cared more about giving than taking. Only they weren't. And this wasn't love. This was strategy, emotional bribery, weaponized affection. They'd never spoiled the kids before. Not like this. Not ever. But suddenly, after we cut them off, suddenly there's Santa Claus with a debit card. I stood there for a second, trying to remember what it felt like to give someone the benefit of the doubt. I couldn't. We're leaving, I said. The kids whined. But why? Grandma said. We're leaving now. They didn't understand. Of course they didn't. How could they? They were being told yes by people who'd spent their lives saying no. And they liked it. It was easy to like. Can we keep the toys? One of them asked, clutching a stuffed bear as if it held all the answers. I hesitated, just for a second. Then I said yes, because taking the toys away would make me the villain. And I wasn't giving my parents that win. As we headed out, my mom called after me, her voice saccharine sweet and utterly confident. They'll come back to us. They always do. She said it like it was a fact. She said it like a promise. She said it like she still thought she could win. That night, I didn't wait for some magical sign or emotional breakdown. I just sat down on the bed, looked at my husband, and said, we have to leave. He didn't ask why. He didn't need to. I don't want them near the kids. Not at school, not at the grocery store, not lurking down the block, masquerading as harmless. He nodded slowly, as if he'd already been halfway to the same place. You mentioned North Carolina before, I said. Your company has an office there. Your parents live there. I wasn't ready then. I am now. He nodded again. The transfer is still on the table. Good, I said. Let's take it. No grand pronouncements, no dramatic tears, just the quiet, firm decision to burn the bridge and never look back. I didn't need revenge. I needed distance and an untainted beginning somewhere they couldn't reach us. Fast forward a few months. We were in North Carolina. The mountains were breathtaking. The air smelled of pine and fresh beginnings. The kids were in new schools. His parents, warm, grounded, and blissfully drama-free, lived 20 minutes away and actually wanted to help. We didn't tell anyone where we went. We blocked numbers, disappeared, and not in the dramatic, finding yourself kind of way. This was a deliberate, claiming our peace kind of escape. One day, my phone rang from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Later, I listened. It was a cousin, one I barely spoke to. Hey, your mom says she doesn't know where you are. She's really upset. Says you just cut off contact. I don't know what's going on, but family matters. I deleted the message, didn't call back, didn't explain. Because by then, the only thing that mattered was this. We were safe. We were free. We didn't disappear. We escaped. It was about 6 months later. New state, new school, new routines. I'd almost gotten used to not checking my phone with dread. The quiet wasn't comfortable yet, but it was no longer terrifying, just still. And then I got an email from my sister. Subject line, emergency. Please read. I stared at it for a while. I thought about deleting it unread. I thought about marking it as spam. Instead, I opened it. It was long, frantic, riddled with typos and poor punctuation. The gist? Our parents had been arrested. This time, not for being stupid, though that was still part of it, but for actually doing the thing they almost let us get arrested for. They tried to smuggle something across the border themselves. No middlemen, no family scapegoats, just a trunk full of product and two people in their 60s who still thought rules were merely suggestions. They were caught, obviously. The email ended with a desperate plea. They need help. They need money for a lawyer. This is serious. You have to put the past aside and show up. Your family. I read that line 3 times. Then I hit reply. All I wrote was, and I did show up once. I'm not doing it again. And I meant it. I didn't hear anything else for a while. I didn't need to. But eventually, word, like a persistent echo, found its way back to me, as it always does. Cousins talk. Family trees may be diseased, but their roots are undeniably deep. They were charged with possession with intent to distribute and attempting to cross an international border with controlled substances. A few pounds, enough for a conviction, not a national scandal. They took a plea deal, for years each. Not life-changing, but not nothing either. Enough time to contemplate their actions, if they possessed the capacity for such introspection, which I gravely doubted. The part of me that used to flinch when people mention second chances is quiet now. We have a life here. It's not perfect, but it's ours. The kids laugh more. My husband sleeps better. And I haven't had to translate guilt into silence in a very long time. As for the rest of it, I don't regret the boundary. Not for a second. But you tell me, did I go too far or not far enough? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you and you're new here, consider subscribing to hear more honest reflections.